There's a subtle tension that you've been carrying lately, even if you can't quite name it. It's not exactly anxiety and it's not fear. It's something quieter, a sense that things are shifting around you, sometimes faster than you feel prepared for. You might have noticed small signs in your daily life, patterns that no longer make sense, moments where your emotions feel heavier or the world seeming slightly different than it did before. This isn't a warning, it's an observation. Life has rhythms we often overlook, and sometimes the most significant movements happen without fanfare, without dramatic announcement. It's natural to feel a mix of curiosity and hesitation when you sense these changes. You've probably lived through seasons where your inner world didn't match the outer world, where friends, environments, or routines suddenly felt out of alignment. These experiences aren't mistakes or failings. They're the quiet markers of growth, nudging you toward new understanding. The weight of quiet change. Many people experience shifts in life not through external drama, but through quiet, almost imperceptible changes in how they perceive themselves. You might wake up one day and realize that something you once thought was essential now feels hollow. Perhaps relationships, hobbies, or even daily routines no longer satisfy you the way they once did. This isn't loss, it's evolution. Our minds and hearts are constantly calibrating, seeking alignment with the deeper version of ourselves that is ready to emerge. Psychologists often describe this as the process of identity refinement, a quiet dismantling of old patterns so new, more authentic ways of being can take root. These changes can feel unsettling because they demand attention. They require that you recognize discomfort not as danger, but as a signal of growth. Recognizing subtle signs. Sometimes what is approaching in your life is not external, it's internal. You might notice patterns repeating in subtle ways, moments of déjà vu, sudden clarity about decisions, or an instinct to pause before moving forward. These are not mystical predictions. They are your mind and body responding to accumulated experiences, signaling readiness for the next chapter of self-awareness. In practical terms, this could manifest as an increased sensitivity to how others behave, a refined sense of intuition, or the realization that certain environments no longer feel compatible with your mental or emotional state. The key here is not to chase or force insight, but to observe. Reflection is your anchor in these moments, allowing you to distinguish between passing impulses and deeper internal guidance. Navigating internal shifts. When changes feel sudden or disorienting, grounding becomes essential. Grounding doesn't mean resisting change. It means building a solid connection to your own perception of reality so you can navigate transitions without losing your balance. One way to do this is through deliberate reflection. Spend time asking questions like, what have I learned about myself this year? What beliefs or habits no longer serve me? How do my current actions align with my values? Through these inquiries, you begin to see patterns that were invisible before. You might realize, for instance, that the discomfort you feel isn't external chaos. It's a mismatch between who you are becoming and who you were conditioned to be. Understanding this distinction brings clarity and diminishes the sense of being at the mercy of unpredictable forces. Emotional alignment. A common experience during periods of change is emotional dissonance, the feeling that your heart and mind are moving at different speeds. You may crave growth yet resist leaving familiar comfort zones. You might feel excitement in the possibility of transformation, while also feeling guilt or fear about what must be left behind. This tension is natural. It's a reflection of your awareness deepening. Emotional alignment involves acknowledging your current state without judgment while gradually embracing the direction your instincts are pointing you toward. It's about cultivating patience with yourself and recognizing that transformation is a process, not a sudden event. Reframing the unexpected. Life often presents opportunities or challenges that arrive without warning. The unknown isn't a threat, it's a space of potential. In moments of sudden change, you have a choice to react impulsively or to observe and respond thoughtfully. This requires developing what psychologists call meta-awareness, the ability to notice your own reactions as they occur. For example, when you feel an unexpected surge of emotion, you can pause and ask, what does this moment reveal about my priorities or my inner state? What can I learn before taking action? By reframing unexpected events as sources of insight rather than disruption, you create room for intentional growth. This doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it transforms it into a tool for self-awareness rather than a source of fear. Deepening self-identity. As these shifts accumulate, something profound begins to emerge, a clearer sense of self that is less dependent on external validation and more rooted in internal integrity. You begin to recognize patterns in how you respond to stress, relationships, and opportunities. You notice which parts of your identity are performative and which are genuinely aligned with your core values. This stage is less about achieving a goal and more about cultivating presence. It's about integrating lessons from past experiences, balancing emotional resonance with rational clarity, and observing life without over-identifying with transient states. Here, personal growth transcends superficial achievements. It becomes a conscious evolution of identity. Subtle transformation in daily life. Transformation isn't always dramatic. Often, it's reflected in small, consistent choices. How you communicate, how you manage your energy, how you set boundaries, and how you honor your own needs. These daily actions accumulate into a more grounded and resilient identity. You might find that certain relationships naturally fade, that priorities shift, or that creative and intellectual pursuits take new forms. These aren't signs of failure. They're natural expressions of the self reorganizing in alignment with deeper awareness. Conclusion and reflection. What is approaching in your life, whatever form it may take, is part of this broader process of inner alignment. It is not a prediction, a judgment, or a test. It is a reflection of ongoing growth. By observing, reflecting, and responding with mindfulness, you allow yourself to navigate change with curiosity rather than resistance. The journey is less about anticipating the future and more about understanding the present. Each moment offers insight, each challenge offers perspective, and each reflection brings clarity. Take time to notice what resonates with you in this narrative. Observe how your experiences align with these patterns of growth. And if you feel moved, share your own reflections with others, because understanding is deepened not only by introspection, but also by connection, observing life through subtle shifts. Sometimes the most profound changes are almost imperceptible. You may notice a slight shift in how you perceive time, how conversations feel heavier or lighter, or how decisions that once seemed easy now carry more weight. These shifts aren't always external. Often, they originate in the subtle recalibration of your own perceptions and priorities. It's easy to overlook these moments because they are quiet, almost invisible against the background of everyday life. Yet, these are the exact signals that indicate inner alignment is occurring. A subtle thought pattern changes, a recurring discomfort fades, or a new sense of curiosity begins to take root. Observing these small shifts with attention, without rushing or forcing them, allows you to recognize that growth doesn't always announce itself dramatically. The role of reflection. Reflection isn't just about thinking, it's about noticing. It's about observing how your body, mind, and emotions respond to events and interactions. When something approaches unexpectedly in life, your first reaction may be instinctive, avoidance, excitement, or hesitation. But beneath that instinct is a deeper current of insight. By taking intentional pauses to reflect, you give yourself a space to process experiences and recognize patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. Journaling, meditative walks, or even quiet conversations with yourself can illuminate areas of growth and points of tension that have remained hidden. Over time, these practices sharpen your perception and strengthen your ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Internal dialogues and self-validation. One of the challenges in periods of change is feeling isolated in your experiences. You may encounter moments when friends, family, or colleagues don't understand the subtle shifts you're noticing. They may dismiss your reflections or express confusion about why you feel differently. It's in these moments that internal dialogue becomes essential. Validating your own experiences doesn't mean disregarding others. It means acknowledging that your inner awareness is real, nuanced, and deserving of attention. Psychological studies suggest that self-validation strengthens emotional resilience and reduces dependency on external approval, allowing you to navigate complex changes without losing confidence in your own perceptions, experiencing unexpected opportunities. Change often arrives in forms that feel unpredictable, new ideas, projects, connections, or perspectives that seem to appear out of nowhere. While these events might initially feel random, they are best approached as invitations to explore rather than as pressures to act immediately. When opportunities emerge suddenly, your response matters more than the event itself. By noticing your instinctive reactions and exploring why they arise, you can better distinguish between what aligns with your evolving values and what merely appeals to temporary desires or external validation. This discernment strengthens not only your decision-making, but also your sense of self amidst uncertainty. The subtle art of patience. Patience isn't about waiting passively. It's an active practice of engagement with the present moment. In periods of personal evolution, there's a natural temptation to force progress or rush toward clarity. But true alignment often unfolds incrementally through careful observation and measured action. Consider patience as a skill that allows your inner awareness to mature alongside external events. It doesn't mean avoiding opportunities or stalling growth. It means cultivating the capacity to respond with presence rather than reaction. Over time, this kind of patience strengthens your resilience, deepens your insight, and allows you to navigate life with a sense of calm intentionality. Transforming emotional responses. Emotions are often misunderstood as purely reactive, but they are more accurately signals of your relationship with yourself and your environment. During periods of subtle growth, emotional responses may intensify or shift in unexpected ways. You might find yourself feeling more sensitive, more attuned to nuances, or more introspective than before. Rather than resisting or suppressing these feelings, approach them as guides. Analyze what they reveal about your needs, your values, and your internal priorities. This approach turns emotional turbulence into a tool for self-understanding, rather than a source of confusion or regret. Over time, you develop what psychologists call emotional granularity, the ability to distinguish between layers of feeling and respond with clarity rather than impulse. Patterns in relationships. As your awareness deepens, relationships often shift naturally. Some connections may grow stronger, rooted in mutual understanding and shared values. Others may become strained or distant, not because of conflict, but because your evolving identity no longer aligns with certain dynamics. This is a normal and healthy aspect of personal growth. Observing these shifts without judgment allows you to make choices about connection that are grounded in authenticity. Rather than clinging to familiarity, you begin to prioritize relationships that support and reflect your evolving self. This is less about exclusion and more about clarity, recognizing which interactions nourish your growth and which ones subtly hinder it. Integration of insight. As you navigate these subtle changes, integration becomes key. Integration is the process of consciously incorporating lessons, reflections, and experiences into daily life. It's about transforming awareness into action, not by forcing change, but by living in alignment with your evolving understanding of yourself. For instance, if you've noticed increased sensitivity to your environment, integration might involve adjusting routines, creating spaces that nurture focus, or engaging in reflective practices more regularly. If you've recognized recurring patterns in relationships, integration could mean setting healthier boundaries or seeking connections that reflect mutual respect. Each small adjustment reinforces internal coherence, creating a more harmonious internal landscape. The evolution of perspective. One of the most profound shifts you might notice is a subtle change in how you view the world. Things that once seemed urgent or critical may no longer hold the same weight. Decisions that previously felt overwhelming might now feel manageable because your perspective has expanded. This evolution doesn't happen all at once. It emerges through countless small reflections, interactions, and observations. You begin to see patterns in your behavior, in others' behavior, and in how events unfold. Over time, this creates a sense of clarity that wasn't available before. You start to recognize the difference between what truly matters and what merely feels urgent or compelling in the moment. Understanding these distinctions isn't about detachment or indifference. It's about alignment. You're learning to act in ways that are consistent with your evolving values and insights rather than reacting to immediate impulses or external pressures, navigating moments of discomfort. Growth often brings discomfort, but it is not inherently negative. You may feel unease when old habits, thought patterns, or relationships no longer serve you. These moments can be disorienting because they disrupt familiar rhythms, but they are also essential for deeper self-understanding. Discomfort signals opportunity. It invites you to explore aspects of yourself that may have been overlooked or ignored. Psychologists describe this as constructive tension, a state in which challenges stimulate reflection, learning, and adaptation. By embracing these moments thoughtfully, rather than avoiding or suppressing them, you can navigate change with curiosity instead of resistance. The importance of inner dialogue. Your internal dialogue becomes a powerful tool during periods of transformation. The way you speak to yourself shapes how you perceive challenges, opportunities, and personal evolution. Positive reinforcement, realistic self-reflection, and self-compassion are all critical elements in fostering a stable internal environment. Pay attention to recurring thoughts and self-narratives. Are they aligned with your growth, or are they rooted in past conditioning or external expectations? By observing without judgment, you can begin to shift unhelpful patterns and cultivate a voice that encourages clarity, resilience, and authentic self-expression. Recognizing subtle opportunities. Opportunities often arrive in unexpected ways, sometimes so subtly that they feel almost invisible. A conversation might spark insight, a new environment might offer perspective, or an idea might resonate in a way that changes how you approach life. These opportunities aren't always dramatic or immediately obvious. They are small, almost imperceptible invitations to explore new ways of thinking, acting, or being. Learning to notice them requires attentiveness and patience. Rather than seeking external validation, the focus is on internal resonance. Does this align with who I am becoming, or does it merely satisfy temporary impulses? The role of consistency. Transformation is rarely the result of sudden, dramatic events. It is the accumulation of small, consistent actions that reinforce growth. Habits, reflective practices, and intentional decision-making create an environment in which self-awareness can flourish. Consistency doesn't mean rigidity. It means creating a reliable framework for your inner development. For instance, dedicating time daily or weekly to reflect on patterns, journal insights, or simply observe emotional responses establishes a foundation for deeper understanding. Over time, these small investments compound, resulting in a more coherent, grounded, and resilient sense of self. Learning through reflection. Reflection is not just looking back. It is an active engagement with your own experience. Every interaction, every decision, and every emotion carries information about your evolving self. Consider your past week, month, or year. Notice recurring patterns, moments that felt pivotal, or situations that provoked intense emotions. Ask yourself, what do these experiences reveal about my priorities, values, and growth? By approaching reflection in this way, you transform everyday life into a fertile ground for insight, cultivating a deeper awareness of how your inner state interacts with external circumstances. Embracing the flow of change. Change is rarely linear. It ebbs and flows, sometimes accelerating, sometimes pausing, often arriving without warning. Accepting this fluidity allows you to navigate transitions with greater ease and less resistance. Rather than attempting to control or predict outcomes, focus on adaptability. Notice how your thoughts, emotions, and actions shift naturally in response to changing circumstances. Recognize that unexpected developments are part of the ongoing process of evolution, offering insight and clarity when approached with observation rather than reaction. Balancing awareness and action. Self-awareness without action can feel stagnant, while action without awareness can feel chaotic. The balance comes from observing your internal state and using that understanding to inform your choices. For example, when faced with a decision, take a moment to notice your emotional reactions, thought patterns, and instinctive responses. What do these signals reveal about your priorities, values, or readiness? By grounding action in awareness, you create intentional steps that are consistent with your evolving identity, rather than simply reacting to external pressures or fleeting impulses. Subtle shifts in decision-making. One of the quieter markers of personal growth is the way your decisions begin to shift. Choices that once felt automatic or purely reactive now carry a subtle intentionality. You may find yourself pausing before acting, noticing how your energy feels, or reflecting on how a choice aligns with your evolving values. This is not about hesitation or fear, it's about calibration. You're learning to weigh options not solely by immediate gain or comfort, but by long-term resonance with your internal compass. Over time, this form of conscious decision-making reduces regret, increases clarity, and fosters a sense of internal stability, even amidst unpredictable external circumstances. Emotional calibration. As your awareness deepens, you may notice that emotions no longer overwhelm you in the ways they once did. Peaks of excitement or distress are still present, but you respond with more intentionality. This is a process of emotional calibration, learning to observe the intensity of feelings, understand their source, and allow them to inform rather than dictate your behavior. Through reflection and mindfulness, you begin to distinguish between what your emotions are signaling about immediate circumstances versus what they reveal about deeper needs or unresolved patterns. This distinction creates a buffer against impulsivity, helping you navigate moments of change with a steady, grounded presence. Recognizing patterns in daily life. Growth often manifests in the small patterns that emerge in everyday life. Perhaps you notice that certain routines no longer energize you, or that specific interactions consistently leave you drained or reflective. These observations are critical. They reveal not only what no longer serves you, but also what supports and nurtures your evolving self. By consciously tracking and reflecting on these patterns, you can make subtle adjustments, changing habits, refining routines, or seeking environments that align more closely with your values. This is less about dramatic transformation and more about cultivating coherence in how you live, work, and interact. The quiet power of observation. Observation is a skill often overlooked in personal growth. Watching your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without immediate judgment allows you to see your life with greater clarity. This quiet attentiveness reveals subtle dynamics that might otherwise go unnoticed. How you respond under stress, what triggers emotional shifts, or which choices reflect your authentic priorities. Through consistent observation, patterns emerge naturally. You begin to anticipate your own responses, notice when old habits resurface, and recognize opportunities for subtle adjustments. This form of introspection strengthens internal awareness and fosters a sense of agency over your experience, even when external circumstances feel unpredictable. Strengthening internal boundaries. As awareness grows, the importance of internal boundaries becomes more apparent. Boundaries are not walls. They are clarity about what you allow into your mental, emotional, and energetic space. They protect your capacity for reflection, creativity, and personal alignment. Refining boundaries may involve choosing who to engage with, how to allocate your time, or what influences you accept into your life. This process is not exclusionary. It is about cultivating an environment that supports your evolving identity. By setting these boundaries consciously, you create space for growth, reflection, and meaningful connection without unnecessary friction or drain. Subtle shifts in communication. Personal growth often shows up in the way you communicate. Words become more deliberate, pauses carry intention, and conversations take on depth. You may notice that you speak less to fill silence and more to convey clarity, or that you listen more actively, seeking understanding rather than validation. This shift is a natural reflection of internal evolution. As your sense of self solidifies, your interactions mirror that alignment. Communication becomes a tool for expression, connection, and clarity rather than a means of reassurance or external approval. This subtle mastery over language strengthens relationships, reduces misunderstandings, and cultivates mutual respect. Embracing solitude. Periods of solitude often accompany growth. This is not isolation, but a conscious space for reflection, integration, and recalibration. Solitude allows you to notice subtle shifts, observe patterns, and refine internal processes without distraction. Engaging with solitude thoughtfully can reveal insights that are otherwise obscured by social dynamics or routine distractions. It offers an opportunity to cultivate self-reliance, emotional regulation, and clarity. Rather than avoiding alone time, embracing it as a tool for reflection enhances your ability to navigate life with confidence and composure, learning from small setbacks. Setbacks are not failures, they are feedback. Subtle missteps, minor disappointments, or unexpected changes provide information about areas for growth, resilience, and adaptation. When approached with reflection rather than frustration, setbacks illuminate patterns in decision-making, emotional response, and interaction dynamics. They become opportunities to fine-tune your internal compass, adjust routines, and strengthen resilience. By learning from small setbacks, you develop a foundation for handling larger transitions with poise and insight. Take a moment to reflect on what you've noticed in your own journey. Which shifts are you seeing in yourself? Which patterns are beginning to make sense now that you've observed them closely? Share your thoughts, your insights, or even the small realizations that have been quietly shaping your path. Your reflections may not only deepen your own understanding, but also resonate with others walking a similar road.